This podcast is sponsored by
Terraform Development is a rising engineering design and project management company located in Flagstaff, Arizona. Co-owners Eddie Kalnemtua and Stanford Lake started the company to bring economic-related projects to rural communities like the villages of the Hopi tribe. Some of the important work done by Terraform with the Hopi tribe are Tawaovi Master Plan, KUYI radio station site plan, Hopi Tribal Housing Authority residential homes, and numerous other nonprofit types projects on the Hopi tribe. Terraform can be reached at 928-864-5022 or visit their website at www.terra4orm.com. That's TERRA, the number 4, ORM.com. Also sponsored by 4X Studio is a Phoenix-based design and print communications company that specializes in brand messaging, marketing communications, and creative services for small businesses, nonprofits, tribal gaming, American Indian, and corporate clients nationwide. Their professional services include integrated brand systems, strategic design, identity illustration, print, ad campaign, assist management, packaging, and event design. Forex Studio is an American Indian owned and operated by Sean Quaney. For more information, visit forexstudio.com. That's the number 4, xstudio.com.
You are now listening to the Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. I am your host, the 5-star Fight Diamond Chef, J-Man. And with me is my co-host, the Prince of No Air, Carlton Banks. His real name is DeAndre.
Good morning.
The Prince of So'o's house, who keeps trying to interrupt me, Carl.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for listening to Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. Yes.
I give that awesome introduction and you continue to try to interrupt me. Come on, man.
Shut up. This is my name is first, so basically I bought all this shit, so
You know what? I think that was one thing that I never mentioned is that, we never talked about how we came up with our name, Carl. Well, I mean, we did talk about how we came up with the name.
Oh, yeah.
But we never mentioned why your name's first.
Yeah.
Because, under normal circumstances, it's something that I probably would have never agreed to.
And you did agree to
but
it.
I agreed to it. And for the listeners that are listening at home, the reason why I agreed to it is because Carl is right. He bought all this shit.
Yeah.
He bought all the microphones, all of our monitors, soundboards, equipment. So basically, he's paying for the party. So I said, you know what? Okay, Carl, this one time, I'll let you put your name first because you paid for the party.
You mean all the time, not this one time. So
But everybody knows who the real host of this show is.
Shut up.
So we're here, episode 2.
Episode 2,
season 3.
Yeah.
And I think that we brought this season 3 in with a bang with our last episode.
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah, and what got me the most is that some of my family members probably not going to be talking to me anymore because of the way that I think. And it's strange to see that I can be so heartless to like anybody else, but when it comes down to politics in general, they hate you for that. They hate you because your views are different, and that's what happened when the last episode aired.
It's very interesting because I think that we got a large response from the episode, and mostly folks kind of telling us that I understood what you guys were trying to say, but at the end of the day, I still think you guys were wrong. So
yeah, see that's where it comes in, is that there is no right or wrong answer to anything of political stance.
Except when it comes to voting, when you decide not to vote, then most folks think that you're wrong. And but I think that when we did that episode, we knew that we weren't going to be changing anybody's opinion or anybody's mind, but really what our goal was just to share the fact that there are opinions out there like the ones that we shared in that episode. And my supervisor was a little heated when she found out that I didn't vote. But then I did have to tell her that, it is a shared perspective amongst many Hopis on the reservation. And really, what I told her was that because somebody had to teach us
Yeah.
how to think like this.
Yeah.
And so, it's not something that you or I just generated on our own, but it really was something that we learned from other folks, from older Hopis. And, that perspective was shared with us. So,
Yeah, and so like with that in mind, that's the reason why J-Man and I we didn't vote in that in this election here, and it's not because we didn't choose to vote. It's because our beliefs are telling us that this is something that we shouldn't be doing with Bahana culture or this white man's culture. And so it's just keeping tradition and it's keeping who we are as individuals and keeping that tradition alive. So for people out there, that are having death threats against us, cool it, man. Just cool it. Just take, just chill out.
you guys got Carl eating the cereal on the high fiber side just to, help himself out with his early morning unloads.
I mean, the political opinions of everybody is not going to change anybody's, perspective views. So just cool it for a while, okay?
So aside from that, things have been going pretty good. You've been doing pretty good. We started off the season really well.
Yeah.
How's your weekend?
My weekend was actually pretty nice. I got to go get an oil change and spend time alone.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you got to go to town
I got to go to town
and have some personal time.
and some personal time.
Work out those squishy hands.
There was a female involved, so
I'm not sure if I believe you on that.
believe me, because I bought all this shit. So, but over the weekend, I like to give a great big shout out to J-Man for turning 35 today or yesterday or whenever he had his birthday. So
It was yesterday. Well, today we're recording on November 23rd, so my birthday was on November 22nd. I'd like to thank everybody, all the listeners, all the supporters that wished me a happy birthday. It was really great. Like to actually, give a shout out to my buddies over at Your Auntie's Favorite Podcast. They even gave me a birthday
Really?
shout out, even though most of the time they kind of say some unflattering things about us on their podcast. But I'd like to thank those guys. And so also to like to mention our sponsors, strong ones, 4X Studios, Terraform Development, and Justin Villarreal, an additional partners to keep this party going, aside just from you, Carl.
well, I did most of the contributing. So everybody who's contributing right now, just thank me for doing this. So
But today is today for us on the day that we're recording is November 23rd, but when this drops it will be November 25th,
yeah,
which means tomorrow is Thanksgiving.
tomorrow is Thanksgiving for those.
Thanksgiving.
I love Thanksgiving.
What's your most favorite thing about Thanksgiving?
The public school meals. Public school Thanksgiving.
You go to public school on Thanksgiving?
No, when you were a little kid, you had
Uh-huh.
the public school Thanksgiving, and then you would invite your mom or
Oh
your
yeah,
dad.
that's right. That's
Yeah,
right. You get
yeah.
to bring the
You get to
community
bring
into the
yeah,
school.
and that I thought that was so cool because I love to have then you present your family member with like the gift that you made
Yeah,
in class. And we've always made the traditional headdress out of the colored feathers.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, the Indian style feathers. And
Yeah.
and we would make the hand turkey. You had the hand print, and then you trace your hand, and you make a turkey out of that. And,
A little arts and crafts.
yeah, a little arts and
to
crafts kind of
celebrate
thing.
the holidays.
And then you get a generic turkey meal at lunchtime with your families.
hmm
So I love that. I love that when you were in grade school, that's what happened. So
I thought that the reason why you liked it was because that soul came into the school and it was the only time that somebody called you cool during school hours.
So still today calls me cool. So she's like, "Hey, son, you're a cool kid."
Well, we know who the resident Souls boy is around here. But today's episode is Hopis and Pilgrims.
Yes.
Or is it Pilgrims and Hopis?
Either way, we don't really care.
Or Hopi Pilgrims?
Either way, we don't care. We just care about the turkey and football. So
And so, today with it being a holiday themed episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving and kind of, some, I guess, discussions that go behind that because, Thanksgiving is kind of something that's talked about a little bit more on the national scale.
yeah,
When it
yeah.
involves Native folks, Native Americans, Indians, Indigenous, whatever it is that, you call yourself. Because I think that, with Thanksgiving, well, at least, when we were younger, that Thanksgiving, the meaning behind it and the reasons why we did it, I think was probably fairly similar to most Americans, at least here on the reservation, because I know that when I left the reservations and to pursue an education, that was kind of one of the biggest questions that would come up around November time for me from my non-Native folks was that you as a Native person, do you celebrate Thanksgiving?
I celebrate Thanksgiving. Sola really likes Thanksgiving. She's up, a week ahead, preparing everything. She has the turkey. Right now, she has the turkey out, and it's probably going to get done by lunchtime tomorrow. So Sola loves Thanksgiving. I guess it's because she likes the everybody that comes to the house, the whole family that does that. So she just likes that company, but now we can't do that because of the restrictions now.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And so, but at least with Thanksgiving on how people talk about it now, I think that because maybe 20 years back or, whatever that time frame was that I think for the most part, everybody believed that Thanksgiving was this time where the Indians and the Pilgrims made peace and they, cut bread over turkey and etc. But as we've learned more about Thanksgiving and, what that really means to some Native folks, that, it really was an open door for colonialism. It was an open door for the settlers to come in and kind of wreak all kinds of havoc on our traditional folks. And so when we learned about that, that's kind of where most people start to question, do natives celebrate Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Is it a reason for celebration?
See, our education came from public school public school teachings where they taught you about the white man in the buckle hat came over to Plymouth Rock, and then after that they almost died out, and then Indians saved them with turkey and national football. So that's the tradition of Thanksgiving.
And it's really interesting because then like we're natives, right? We're quote unquote natives, but then really the way that we learned about Thanksgiving is very similar to the way that most Americans learned about Thanksgiving. Is that there was this one paragraph in one history book during your elementary years in education to where you learned about Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And so here on the Hopi reservation, you got kids making feathered headdresses out of the toy feathers, I guess.
Yeah.
The colorful feathers, playing Pilgrims and Indians and not really understanding what that history was about.
Yeah, and it's strange how we think that Thanksgiving is actually a U.S. tradition, but it's not. It's not a U.S. tradition. It's actually a worldwide tradition. I just found out, and that there are certain countries that celebrate Thanksgiving, such as Brazil and Canada.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Brazil, Canada, and the United States are just to name a few. And it's weird how they celebrate Thanksgiving, similar to United States Americans, but they celebrate it not because of the Native Americans coming in, but they celebrate it because of the harvest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's their Thanksgiving.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But they still call it Thanksgiving.
So not necessarily to celebrate turkey in a national football, huh?
No, that was our thing. So we brought them football and, we got them turkey so they won't starve to death. So
And so I guess that's kind of really where it a little bit differs for us reservation folks, because then when you are posed that question, do you celebrate Thanksgiving? Is there any meaning behind it? And basically for us, it is. It's about getting that turkey out, defrosting it, and then having all your family members over to celebrate what we think of this Americanized version of Thanksgiving, because even us as Hopis, as Native folks, that we really didn't learn about, I guess, the negative aspects of what Thanksgiving meant to the East Coast natives.
Oh yeah,
that were truly involved with what went on there, and it's kind of I guess it really got me thinking, because it's Thanksgiving right now. And there's other Native podcasts, and they talk about Thanksgiving, and they really do talk about it from this context of more of a thanks-taking instead of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Because of what it led for those pilgrims to open the doors for other colonizers to come in and take more from us, and so they kind of really talk about it from that context. But for us Hopis, it's like if you were to go out and talk to other Hopis in other villages and ask them this question, what's a pilgrim? How many of you do you think would know the answer to that?
Probably nobody. So no Hopi out there knows what a pilgrim is.
What is a pilgrim?
Pilgrim is a guy who came over from across the sea with a buckle on his shoe and on his hat. So
didn't know how to farm or hunt for himself, so the Indians had to come save him.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and that's what a pilgrim is.
But it's really interesting though, at least the way that I think about it, because I guess as Hopis, we did develop this form of education that was outside of the classroom.
Yeah.
Like we learned about our cultures, we learned about our religion, and to an extent historical events within our own homes, within our villages, or even within the kiva in different places. And so, we at least have a pretty good historical aspect of our societies and who our peoples are. But, in a lot of these conversations and a lot of this education, we don't learn about pilgrims.
No.
We don't learn about the white settlers coming over from a different part of the country.
No.
And the colonization that they undertook in a different part of the country. But we did learn about some aspects of colonization that happened within our own lands.
Yes.
And so a lot of us don't know what a pilgrim is, but a lot of Hopis do know what a conquistador is.
Yes, and what a castile is.
And so what is a conquistador or a castile?
Well, they are Spanish settlers that came over in, 15-something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with...
15-something sounds about right.
Yeah, 15-some sounds about right. My years are not that accurate, so... it started out with, what was his name?
Esteban.
Was it Esteban?
I think it was Esteban.
Yeah, what was the other guy's name, too? There was another guy.
Jose.
Jose. Not Jose Acevedo, so... Another Jose. So, Jose, if you're listening to this, not you, Jose. No, it was, what was the other one, too? I forgot his name. I forget. There was a famous one that invaded Old Arribi, so.
So you tried to speed me up when I tried to do my fact checks, and then you decide to bring up facts on this episode.
Pretty much. I'm trying to remember that. My dad knows all of this stuff. I don't. I just eat the turkey, basically, so.
And so I guess in a way, really, and that history with the conquistadors, with the Castilam, as we know them in our own language, that really has kind of more of a profound impact within our own minds in terms of our own contextualization of our own existence. And so, that type of history kind of is more resonated with us than it really is with the Pilgrims and the Mayflower and, the landing on Plymouth Rock. And so really, I guess instead of Hopis, celebrating this colonized holiday of Thanksgiving, eating turkey, stuffing, and mashed potatoes, we really should be celebrating by eating Mexican food.
Oh, man.
Enchiladas and tacos. And
Hopis love Mexican food for some reason.
And maybe it's that reason.
I think it is that reason.
Because we were colonized by the Spanish.
Yeah. I mean, hey, yeah, you can take my women and children. Just give me a taco. I need a taco.
Not that you had a woman or children to give away anyway, Carl.
That's the reason why I'm not married, because I gave him away for a taco.
Oh, God. Strong Ones. Strong Ones is dedicated to exposing cultural traditions of running that exist within many cultures and tribes worldwide through running apparel. Strong Ones is an individually owned business supporting cultural running traditions and supporting local organizations within the Hopi Reservation. They can be found at strongones.myshopify.com. Again, that's strongones.myshopify.com. They are also on Facebook at StrongOnes15.
But going on the history of like Hopis and Spaniards, yes, we do have like a dark history with them and how they tried to colonize us in a way. But yet we did take a lot of their native language or their native, their culture in doing certain things.
And so I think that what you're saying is correct, and that there's still a lot of influences of Spanish within our reservation, even within our practices.
Yeah.
Some of the words that we speak.
Oh yeah.
For example, your Hopi word of the day today is manzana.
Yeah.
And what does that mean, Carl?
Means apple.
And how do you say apple in Spanish?
Mansala. Mansala? I think that's how you would say it.
It's manzana.
No, I thought it was mansala.
It's manzana.
I don't know. We need a real Spanish-speaking person here.
I need a co-host on this podcast that will do fact checks before they come on here. That's what I need.
Hey, I'm here because of all this shit that I bought, so.
You're here because you paid for everything.
I'm here because I paid for everything. And it was my idea, so.
But there are other words, too, that, do derive from the Spanish language. One of them is cobayo.
Yeah, cobayo.
In the, quote-unquote, traditional way of how we say cow.
Yeah.
In Hopi. And then in Spanish, it's pronounced
caballo.
Cobayo?
Caballo.
Cobayo.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about that, man.
I am sure because I watched the that History Channel where the Black Cowboys is. So.
But other words too that we use that we use to describe certain things that are basically the exact as Spanish is that cheese is one thing. We do say queso. In Hopi is something a word that we use, and then even some of the English influences within our villages.
Oh yeah.
If you don't say Gisonve in the traditional Hopi way, you say plaza.
Plaza. Yeah.
And then our mesas, are derived from them, and even the name, from this subgroup of Indians that we belong to, pueblos.
Yeah.
And so the Spanish language is written all over us, basically. And their influences are deep within our cultures. And then so you think of some of the things that we do, within our Hopi economic development episode, we talked about the traditional forms of currency, but even some of those currencies that have been adopted today outside of corn, one is sheep.
Oh yeah, sheep. Sheep is
sheep is something that we use to pay for different things, or some things that we use to feed folks, and then that is something that was introduced to us by the Spanish, and so that type of practice has deeply rooted itself and has stayed kind of one of these bio invaders, using it from a plant context or a plant analogy, that there are a lot of their culture that is still within us here. And so I think that one of the big differences though that was that we were fortunate enough in comparison to our Pueblo relatives in New Mexico is that the religion didn't stay.
Yeah.
And so that religion of the Spanish was that Catholicism. And so fortunately, I guess, at least from our perspective, fortunately, that was something that we were able to remove from our cultures, our practices, and our doings. And so there is a long history of the effects of the Spanish, I don't know what you
influences,
call it, or Spanish conquests.
Yeah.
That kind of, that really resonated here. And so that's kind of something that's a little bit more profound with us, more profound with how we see ourselves in this larger scope. And so it's kind of really difficult for Hopis to really contextualize Thanksgiving, something that happened thousands of miles away, or at least the genesis of the histories of those of that occurrence, of that historical occurrence, and so how that plays within our minds here on Hopi.
And yeah, when what J-Man is relating to is that yes, there were like a lot of influence from Spanish culture that's still here on the Hopi reservation, and we still use that today. It's not because we want to use it; it's because it was ingrained in us in past history. So like we didn't have there wasn't a word for pig or for cow or for sheep because they
things
were
like
all
that.
because they were all traded items.
Apples,
Yeah.
oranges.
Even the peaches were all traded items here.
And then even something like that, like sipala,
Yeah,
those types of things, even that we still use as kind of a calendar marker for how we do things traditionally
yeah,
within our ceremonial cycle.
yeah. And we take all of that into our own culture and integrate it into our own culture. Like for weddings and for baby namings, we butcher a sheep now because it's traditional to do so like that.
And that's something now that they've probably been doing for hundreds of
For hundreds
years
of years, for
since.
thousands of years, actually. Yeah.
Well, at least on Hopi.
Oh yeah.
At least on Hopi, before the Spanish introduced them to our people. So now that a lot of those things that they brought with them, we've integrated within our
Yeah.
cultural practices. That in a way, it's almost become Hopi
Yeah.
to be able to have sheep or to have cattle. All of the cattle that Hopis do have now, you do still have some Hopi ranchers. That all of that was brought from the Spanish.
From traded from the Spanish. So, I'm not thanking the Spanish for giving us these things. It's just thanking them to say that, hey, now I can have nukwavi with, sheep.
I like filet mignon. I think that warrants a thanks to colonization.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And it's thank you for the tacos. Thank you for the enchiladas we had last night. So, and thank you for the beans.
And it's funny because then you think of a traditional Thanksgiving meal, right?
Yeah.
You think about the turkey, the stuffing, mashed potatoes. But I think for Hopis, it's like almost a part of that traditional Thanksgiving meal is the piqaviki.
Ikaviki, yep.
And so I think that's very essential because you get one of those. That's like sliced bread to us.
Yeah.
It's that once you get someone that makes it, then you're wrapping up your sikwi with it, and then you're just devouring it like that. Like it's almost a must to have it.
Yeah, it's almost like a tradition to have that type of meat. Like what was that one Indian bread that they have? I forgot what it was called, but it's like they make this Indian bread.
Fry bread?
No, it's a type of flatbread that they always have to have.
Are you
with
talking
their meal
about Indians with the feather?
Yeah, no,
or Indians with the dot.
Indians with the dot.
Pita, is it not pita?
No. It's another bread that they always have to have, and it's their spoon and it's their fork, and because they don't have forks or spoons, so they use the bread.
Hopis eat this?
No. Indians eat this, and that's what I'm saying. That we copy. We have that same mentality of that we have to have this type of bread with every meal.
We're talking about Hopis and Thanksgiving, Carl. We're not talking about I don't know, whatever histories happen over in India.
I'm pretty sure Indian people have Thanksgiving over there too.
I'm pretty sure I have other rich friends that can buy this podcast equipment.
Well, speaking on rich people, I'm one of the richest men here in this studio, so.
But I think that that really is it really is a good discussion because then like that I think that for most reservation folks we don't put a whole lot of thought into Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Or the historical contexts behind it, or those types of folks that it involved, because then to do research for this episode, I did listen to another Native podcast into where they were talking about Thanksgiving, and they were talking about and this is probably a very true statement, is that most people don't know who the tribe is that was involved with this whole history of Thanksgiving. And so they were talking about the Wampanoag tribe, which apparently was this tribe that was involved with the first Thanksgiving. Do you know anybody that's Wampanoag?
I have no idea that was even a tribe.
Do you know where the reservation is?
I have no idea where that reservation is either.
And I think that's probably true for most of us out here on the reservation. And, I think that it's kind of an interesting thing because I think that, one way that it's I guess the way that Native people are looked at by Pahanas is that, we're all the same.
Yeah.
We're all the same. And I think that we documented that pretty well in some of our experiences growing up not necessarily growing up, but living in the urban areas.
Yeah.
And talking about, how folks think that, we all live in teepees.
Oh, yeah.
We all ride horses.
Yeah.
That we all aspire to be Kevin Costner's bitch.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so, but then I think that we tend to kind of do it to ourselves too as Native folks.
Yeah.
It's that we kind of, I guess we kind of put ourselves all in the same pot by saying that we're all indigenous.
Yeah.
Which is true. Or we say that, we're all Native Americans. But I think that kind of where the fault in that is that, and I've said this before on this podcast, is that not one glove does not fit all.
No.
Because then you think about it, and you kind of break it down tribe by tribe. Like Hopis, for example, we have snake dances. Right?
Yes.
And would it be appropriate for Navajos to have snake dances?
No.
Because Navajos themselves see snakes as a negative.
Yeah.
That it's a taboo for them to even look at snakes. And so that's kind of one example as to where, there are differences. There are differences between the tribes and how we perceive things. Definitely our historical experiences shape who we are, and it shapes how we see the world and how we perceive the world. And I think that, one of the biggest thoughts in my head around this whole, I guess, history of Native folks is that it's a kind of a shared perspective by Hopi on the reservation that our experiences and our histories are our own, and that other tribes, their experiences and histories belong to them.
Yeah.
And so, whatever happened with the Wampanoag and their experiences with Plymouth Rock, the Pilgrims, and, all of that whole historical context that happened behind that, a lot of us here on the reservations would see that as something separate from our own experiences and histories.
And so, our history is a very unique history, especially with colonization, and that is coming from a different culture. Of course, back then, Spaniards were actually white with blue eyes, and we're thinking that they are, the Pahanas, basically. So, that's what true Spaniards are. That came over from Spain actually looked like. Christopher Columbus was basically a white guy who spoke Spanish and, had blue eyes, basically.
And when we were little, we thought Spanish were Mexicans.
Yeah, it was.
Because they all spoke Spanish.
It was weird, because, Mexico is Spain. Mexico is Spanish because they all speak Mexican. And we taught, when we're taught in school, brown people are Spanish people as well, too.
Uh-huh.
So I never knew that that white people had, were the originators of Spanish culture. So
you thought that Spanish came from Mexico.
Yeah.
And it's even true with our traditional word, Castilla.
Castilla.
Like,
Yep.
Castilla doesn't necessarily just translate to Spaniards. We call Mexicans Castilla.
Yeah.
Or, basically anybody that speaks the Spanish language is who we call Castilla.
Yeah. And so that's where it came from, the Castillos or the Castiles, is that the structure of it is that they are the ones who brought over these things like that. They're the ones who brought over the stuff to trade with us. And they're the ones who influenced us in different types of how we do our culture today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so I think that, another interesting thing about this time of the year, month of November, is that we're also celebrating Native American Heritage Month.
Yeah, Native American Heritage Month.
So happy Native American Heritage Month to all our listeners, to all our indigenous listeners, folks that come from Native communities. And so, what is that? What is the Native American Heritage Month for those that haven't heard about it?
Well, I believe that it's a month that's set aside to honor all Native American tribes or all natives that are here basically in the United States and Canada, bordering Canada. So
honoring our contributions.
Yeah, honoring the contributions we had towards United States culture.
To this reality show we call This Is America. Carl didn't get his vote in to see which character would be removed next.
Oh, I can't wait till next season.
which starts January 1st.
Which starts January 1st. That's the beginning of that new season there. We're going to see a lot of new characters in play, and we're going to see a lot of new dynamics, who's going to be staying or who's going to be going, all that kind of cool stuff. So, I mean, that's just one thing that United States has contributed to Native American ideas and stuff. And it was that if you're going to take like the history part of it, is that Native Americans were actually they actually did contribute to U.S. history or U.S. politics in a way.
For sure. How did we contribute?
Like the democracy of certain Native American tribes.
And so democracy is a leadership practice or a form of leadership practice that was developed by tribes. I think mostly the what do they call them? The Iroquois?
The Iroquois or the Five Nations or whatever they call them. Yeah, the Five Nations that are up there. And that, they're the ones who actually developed this type of system or this political system that United States had said that, hey, you guys are doing something pretty cool. I like to borrow this thing, but yet let me kill you first for this. So that's pretty much how it went down, I'm pretty sure. So
what are some other contributions that you can think of tribes to the United States?
We gave Kevin Costner an Oscar, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So, congratulate to Kevin Costner.
We gave Kevin Costner a CIB. I thought that guy looked like Kevin Costner at IHS the other week.
There's a lot of things that we gave them. A lot of movies in the Southwest that happened. So.
We gave John Wayne a movie career.
Oh my God, John Wayne! Yeah, so congratulations to John Wayne for his movie career, and it's all based on us. So
this paid sponsorship was paid for by Justin Villarreal.
Hey, Tom here with Hopi Relief. Hopi Relief is a nonprofit organization based down here in the Valley, where we are providing much-needed supplies to the Hopi Reservation during this COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. Please visit HopiRelief.org and find out how you can get involved. Hopi Relief is also an Arizona-recognized charitable tax organization. And please, visit us December 1st on Giving Tuesday. Thank you.
But, it is interesting, though, because this Native American Heritage Month really is this time that's set aside to honor Native folks and their contributions. Because I think that historically, there's this huge misconception about Native people within the United States, all the stereotyping that was going on about who Pahanas thought we were. They thought we were all extinct.
Yeah.
And basically what our culture was teepees, riding around on horses, all of these different things that you saw in those early Westerns.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Native folks got into a position to where that they could actually talk and say that, what you guys think about us is wrong.
Yeah.
That, we are this different type of people and that we're very diverse. We have, all these different languages, that we have all these different practices, different religions that are still practiced today.
Yeah.
And that, that we did contribute a vast amount of contributions to the United States. We mentioned a few, but you think of other things like corn.
Yep.
Corn is a big contribution that was made to the United States economy. Other things like tobacco. And so, you kind of hear that joke, well, the white people gave Indians smallpox and then the natives gave white people cigarettes and lung cancer.
And and that's all thanks to like years and years of cultivation on our end to actually formulate a substance for you guys, for non-natives, to benefit from it. So, we don't patent that stuff. So, we didn't patent corn.
So we lost out on a lot of economic opportunities on that end.
So I like to take back my corn. So all the farmers in the Midwest, that's half of my stuff. So,
but even, you think about it locally, you think about like the state of Arizona, right? You think about communities like Sedona, or even you think about communities like my favorite community, Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And you think about the influences of Native cultures within those communities, because then, Sedona, you go down there and you see a lot of Native arts, a lot of Native jewelry on sale, which is the same true for Old Town Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Or you even think about, some of these cities like Flagstaff, Phoenix, that a lot of the names in a lot of these places come from native languages.
Yeah.
Like you think about, how many Kachina boulevards that there are probably out in Phoenix, or a lot of these different things. One of the things that I did learn is that, there is a school district in Arcadia down in the valley that's called the Hopi School District.
Oh, yeah, the Hopi School District. Yeah,
And
yeah, I
so
heard about that.
I was really confused when I was in the area and I see this bumper sticker saying Hopi School District. And I'm thinking, oh, cool. There's some Hopi shopping here in
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
shopping center that I am. And then you see these Bahana people getting into the car and you're like, what the hell? What's going on?
And it is strange. It is strange to see that our name is out there. A Hopi name is out there.
Uh-huh.
There is a restaurant in Flagstaff, Arizona named Kachina's.
I love
You know,
Kachinas.
yeah. And there is the Hopi Drive, of course, down in Flagstaff, and I think down in Winona as well too. So
And then I don't know if you know it too, but the Arizona Coyotes, they have a jersey style that's called the Kachina design.
Oh, yeah,
one
that's
of their
right.
jerseys is called the Kachina design.
Yeah, that's right.
And so apparently that style was derived from Hopi Katsinas or
Yeah.
Katsina dolls to some extent. And so, you think about, I guess, there are more contributions than we realize of Native folks into contemporary societies, not just nationwide, but locally here to the state of Arizona. And then, one of the funny things that I thought of was when I was in Arcadia, being caught off guard by this Bahana family riding around with this Hopi bumper sticker.
Yeah.
I guess I should have known when I didn't see any pajos in the rearview mirror.
You mean Nakwakwissi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, that was kind of one of the funny things. But then, you really do think about it. You really do think about those things that really is an identifier. Those feathers in the rearview mirror when when you're off the reservation, knowing if whether other Hopis are around.
Yeah.
And I think that we were young enough to know that when it was mostly just Hopis that did that.
Yeah.
But now you got other tribes.
Yeah,
hanging
now you
feathers.
have Navajos that actually do that too.
Uh-huh,
Which
so-
is weird.
you probably taught them how to do that. That's why.
With their taradine.
Instead of Homa. But I guess, that really is the purpose of this Native American Heritage Month, is to really recognize a lot of the contributions of our peoples to the United States. And then, me having this university background,
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I really experienced when I was at ASU was that when it would come to Native American Heritage Month, that there really was a lot of more programming around university campuses that focused on Native topics, that focused on different Native things. One of the events that I was involved with that kind of really stands out in my mind is that we had a Native student group.
Yeah.
And so we partnered with another student group, but they were, I guess, quote unquote, real Indians.
Yeah.
They were students that had heritage from the country of India.
Yeah.
And so the student event was around the term Indians. And so basically, I guess really for that event, it really was it really was a show of proof that word Indian truly is a term developed by colonizers, because even the people that are from this country that we know as India, that they don't call themselves Indians either.
No, they never called themselves.
That they have their own word for their country, India.
Yeah.
And so this country that's called India, that was actually a word that was created by the British.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I said before, and you said no.
You did not say that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You were talking about bread.
No, I was talking. This was in a past episode here. So I said that Indians don't call themselves Indians because that wasn't their native language. So
That's probably on a different podcast.
yeah, that was on your end. And
With
you said that I have Indian friends that actually call themselves Indians. And I said that no, they never call themselves Indians.
That was probably on a different podcast with this pussy named Larry.
No. I stand my ground. This is my shit here.
Well, we all know that's not true, so.
So going back to the whole colonization of how Native Americans looked at themselves, when the Spanish actually kind of quote unquote invaded Hopi tradition or Hopi culture or the Hopi mesas here, They were thinking that we needed to be converted into Christianity or Catholics, and so that's where this whole war kind of started out. Is that if you're not part of us, then you're not here, or you cannot get to God, or you cannot see God in a way that they see it. So. And with that, I mean, we have similar aspects to that. Hopi has that similar aspects of like, oh yeah, you have to be like us in order to see what we see, basically. So, in a way, there's a lot of influences from Spanish culture that is still here on the reservation.
Carl's opinions are not shared by all members of the Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. You only do those quote unquotes in regards to something that you believe not to be true.
Well, that is quote unquote, because it is kind of like the colonization or the invasion of Hopi society. So
it was an invasion.
It was an invasion, but when you look at it, we did get a lot of the influences.
I can see why you chose to go to a refrigerator school instead of a legit.
I mean, but if it wasn't an invasion, then we would have never done anything more to keep that culture there. So we would say that we don't have nothing to do with the culture if this was an invasion. So
it's called colonization, Carl.
So that's why I said quote unquote invasion.
I gave out Carl's number in the last episode, so if you want to call him and correct him. I told him, I'm going to get tired of doing that.
I'm right. So I'm right. You can't tell me I'm wrong.
I do it all the time. And so, one of the things that, in preparation for this episode that I really wanted to do was that I wanted to get some opinions, from our listeners. And, what are some of the things that, we could talk about in this episode? And, we talked a little bit about it because genocide, that term genocide, that was an answer to one. And that is related to colonization. We talked a little bit about that. And then one was, why do Hopi complain about holidays not being ours, but don't mind feasting the part? Because we like to eat.
That is true. I mean,
short answer, we like to eat.
We just love to eat, no matter what type of tradition it is. So,
and then actually, one of the responses also is, when are we thankful? And traditionally, when do Hopis show thanks?
Hopis are never thankful. So, so if you're a Hopi, you're never thankful for this.
It's funny because then it is something that you and I we've talked about. We didn't really want to talk about a whole lot, but I mean it's really true in regards to that comment is everything that's gone on with COVID.
Yeah,
and you've seen all of these organizations raise, I guess, funds or raise resources to be able to create these food sources for our people.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a prime example of, how ungrateful that some of us can be.
Exactly. It's strange how if you're given free stuff, you should be thankful for getting free stuff. But yet Hopis seem to complain about not getting the right free stuff. I was like, I don't like these types of beans here. Why am I getting these types of beans?
And then I guess there was a line a mile long to get free turkey.
Yeah.
A few days ago.
Yeah. And it's not the right type of turkey because it was too small. This is not going to feed anybody. And this is how Hopis think. I spent an hour in the car to get a free turkey and it's not big. Well, then go buy it yourself. I don't know what's wrong.
Carl does his turkey hunting at Butterball, which unfortunately is where I'll have to do my hunting as well.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I guess, we're getting pretty close to wrapping it up. And, I had fun, talking about this. And, I'm ready to eat tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
When the time comes around. Because I'm really big into Thanksgiving. I really do enjoy the holiday.
Yeah.
One, because, my birthday is in the month of November. So I was one of those kids that got to get presents on Thanksgiving Day.
Really?
And, Christmas is just around the corner. And, I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point in the future. But I really do get in the holiday season as well.
Yeah.
When Christmas comes around. But except I am one of those people that between November 1st and November 30th, I'm a real big Scrooge because there's no Christmas is allowed in my house until December 1st because God damn it, Thanksgiving deserves its time.
We don't really put up anything at our house anymore because I'm too lazy to get out the Christmas box or anything else. So I just want the food on Thanksgiving Day and the Lions to lose on Prime TV. So
I always cheer against the Washington team for obvious reasons.
yeah, that's
We are
true.
not your mascot.
Well, I think we should head out now. So thank you again for listening to Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. Please, we are looking for donors. We are looking for donors now. So.
And then if you can't financially contribute, the way that you can help us out is that please, whether you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, please give us a 5-star review.
Yeah.
That'll help us to get, mentioned more amongst people who are looking for podcasts. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please smash the like button, subscribe, and share our podcast. We greatly appreciate it.
Exactly. And if you want to do a contribution, please go to, or please email us at cjpodcast85@gmail.com. And we will gladly, take your money, gladly make sure that all of this stuff is being still paid for because I'm still paying for this stuff. So
He's not.
But thank you again for listening to Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. My name is Carl. This is my best friend, J-Man.
So long, quack, quack.